What's going on, everyone? Just me, back with something a little different this time. Chris from over at the Tunes from the Man Cave put together a jazz vinyl tag for 2022, which means stuff from last year. So I thought it'd be a fun opportunity to do a jazz video, which not everybody loves. That's fine. You don't gotta watch it. But I love talking about jazz. You know, I've only done one other vinyl tag, but I really like them. I think it's a fun way to showcase some of like your favorite things and like talk about them, what they mean to you. And it kind of shows the uniqueness of everyone else's collection as well. But thank you, Chris, for putting this together. Uh, there's 22 questions, pulled out albums for them, got a big stack in front of me, so let's do this. Number one is favorite find in 2021. I did find this at the beginning of the year, so I am going to count this. Whatever. That is Una Mas by Kenny Dorham. This is an original stereo pressing with the P. On Blue Note, of course. Just a great album. A killer lineup. I found this in the wild at a store that doesn't normally put out a lot of jazz, and it was just sitting back there in the racks, and I was like, it was like $35, and I was like, that's mine. It's a little rough around the edges, but that's okay. For $35, I'll take that all day. Number two is favorite reissue in 2021. Now, if you watch my channel, I'm not a big reissue guy. But I do have one that I've shown already. It's from 2021. I got it this year, but that is The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady by Mingus. The Analog Productions reissue. It's phenomenal. This album is just, it's sublime. It's hypnotizing. That's a good word for it. It's hypnotizing. This is a great album. And I'm just happy to even have a copy right now, even if it is a reissue. I would like to find an original, of course. But just a great album. Very happy with the way this sounds. Doesn't mean I'll be buying more reissues, but there are some things I can't wait, I want to listen to it now. But anyways, moving on. Number three is favorite release in 2021. I went with I Told You So by the Delvin Lamar Trio. What more can I say about Delvin Lamar Organ Trio? Super funky, great guitar playing, just, doing modern jazz such a service right now. If you get the chance to go and see these guys, go and see them. They're freaking awesome, man. Like, they're so good live. I went and saw them for their album opening earlier this year for Cold as Weiss, and they played for like 3 hours. They were playing Curtis Mayfield. I think they played some Marvin. They were playing all sorts of things. They were singing too. It was crazy. It was a party. It was a lot of fun. But really great group. Go check out Coal Mine Records too. A lot of great jazz-leaning type things on that label. Number four is a sax-led album. This is one I showed recently. It's Abstract by the Joe Harriott Quintet on Capitol. Originally on Columbia. It's from the UK. But just a great album. Post-bop, really kind of it rides a line of free jazz, but doesn't ride it too close. It stays pretty much in its lane of post-bopness, boppiness, I don't know what you'd say. But phenomenal album. Joe Harriott is great. If you don't know him, go check him out. This album, I love this album so much. It's so good. And right now, the US pressings are super cheap. Number five is a trumpet-led album. And I went with Clifford Brown with Strings. Originally on MRC, this is the Mercury label. Just a beautiful album. It's romantic, it's like that nighttime kind of sexiness. And, it's a great album to put on with a partner if you're cooking, if you guys just want to have a good night drinking some wine. Great album for that. Just beautiful. Clifford's playing is great. God, his tone on that album is awesome. Number six is a guitar-led album. I went with Right On Brother by Boogaloo Joe Jones on Prestige with that Trident label. Just killer funkiness. You know, Boogly Joe Jones, doesn't shred, but man, his licks are great. Um, Super funky, full of a bunch of great players on here. Very notable players in the jazz funk realm. Uh, if you watch my channel, you know I like jazz funk quite a bit because I think it is a very, underserviced realm of jazz, personally. This is a great album. Check it out. Super funky, really great guitar playing. Number 7 is a piano-led album. Now, going through this, I realized I don't have a lot of piano-led albums. I guess it's just not what I seek out. I guess. I don't know. But this one I found recently, so I thought I'd throw it in here. And that is Blowing the Blues Away by the Horace Silver, is it quintet? Yeah, quintet and trio. Original mono pressing on Blue Note. Great album. Super great, just hard bop album. Couple slower tunes on here, but overall, just phenomenal. I really enjoyed this album. It's not that I don't enjoy piano-led albums. I just don't always enjoy them. But I really enjoyed this one. Number 8 is an organ-led album. Went with an album that is, yet again, funky, because in jazz funk you get a lot of organ playing, because it really lends itself to the genre super, super well. I went with Electric Funk by Jimmy McGriff, with that West Coast label on Blue Note. Jimmy McGriff, man, one of the masters of the funky organ. So good. This album's super funky, super hard-hitting funkiness, and yeah, this one is a little hard to find. Granted, this isn't a great copy of it. Would love to upgrade it, but I'm just happy to have one right now. Really great funky organ playing on here and guitar playing. Check it out, man. Check it out. Number 9 is a tuba or trombone led album. I went with a trombone led album because 1, I don't have any tuba led albums, and 2, I only have one trombone led album. But that is the great Kai and JJ. Originally put out on Impulse. This is an 80s press on MCA Impulse with the MCA label. Great album. Super chiller. Excuse me. Super chiller, boppy, hard bop, somewhere in there. But really great playing all around. The lineup on here is Kai and JJ. You've got Bill Evans, Paul Chambers, Tommy Williams, Roy Haynes, and Art Taylor. 2 different quintets, one on side 1, one on side 2. Actually, let me check. Side 1 is Paul Chambers, Roy Haynes, and Bill Evans with Kai and JJ. Side 2 is Tommy Williams, Art Taylor, and Bill Evans with Kai and JJ. I really, really enjoyed this album. I actually quite like trombone. I think it can lend itself very well in the right context. Not always. But Blue Train has Curtis Fuller on it. One of the best, could be argued the best jazz album of all time, has trombone on it. So, right context, I think it's great. Number 10, we're on favorite jazz funk album. Again, big jazz funk guy. This is my favorite jazz funk album by far. I've talked about it on here before. I'll talk about it again, and I will sing its praises until I can no longer talk. That is Grant Green Alive by Grant Green. Original stereo pressing on Blue Note. Man, this album is just so killer. I've talked about it before. It just burns and cooks the whole way through, and the playing is so good on here by everyone. I love Idris Muhammad on drums. He's phenomenal on here. I love Grant Green. He's burning on here. Just, his timing is great. His licks are great. His tone is great. If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. Grant Green Alive by Grant Green. Great, great album, man. Number 11 is your favorite jazz fusion album. Now, I don't have a lot of fusion. I'm not super big into fusion. The reason being, I shouldn't say I'm not super into it. I'm just picky. I don't like synthesizer at all, really, in any context. Rock, jazz, whatever it be. I'm not a big synthesizer guy. And I find in fusion, there's a lot of synth work. Yeah, there's a lot of electric piano work too, but I just cannot get into synthesizers that much. So I went with an earlier fusion-y album, and that is Coryell by Larry Coryell. This is a great album. I would consider this fusion. Some people may not. I do. kind of psychedelic, you know, bluesy, jazzy, fusiony. It's a great album. I mean, this is on that apostolic Vanguard label. Very small label, not much put out on it. But Larry Coryell, you know, he's a pretty famous jazz guitarist. This album is on the electric fusion side. Like I said, it's quite psychedelic. It came out in 1969, you know, right at the time of psychedelia. So you can hear that influence in it quite a bit. But it is a great record if you like scorching guitar. Number 12 is an underappreciated album by an artist you love. Now, I have loved this album for quite a long time. I've been obsessed with it for a long time, but I've finally found a copy for a good price. And that is Lee Morgan by Lee Morgan. This is another album I will sing its praises until I cannot talk anymore. I think this album is just pure genius, personally. Capra Black on here is one of my favorite jazz songs of all time. This specific version. I do like Billy Harper's version off his Strata album, but this version, it will hypnotize me every time I hear it. It's just like, the playing on it, I think, is perfection. All around, the whole album. Man, I really, really love this album. And you know, last Lee Morgan album, studio album that he ever put out, you know, obviously we all talk about early Lee Morgan, but I really strongly believe there is a huge case to be made for his later work. I think that his later work is more interesting than his early work, by far, personally. It's just so much more interesting, and the players he plays with are so much more interesting, in my opinion. Not taking away from his early work at all. It's all amazing. But for me, a lot of that work starts to blend together. It just stays in that hard bop lane. But his last few albums are great. My 2 cents on that. What are we at? We're at number 13. I got a list down here that I'm reading off of. I had to write them down. Number 13 is a live jazz album. Again, another album I will sing its praises to. And I know Chris will like this one because I know he knows this album and loves it. Root Down by Jimmy Smith. Recently found an upgrade copy of this. In the wild. Couldn't believe it. This is on Verve. Now, if you don't know this album, which I know it is gaining some more notoriety these days, but if you don't know this album, you might be thinking, oh, a Jimmy Smith record. This is unlike any other Jimmy Smith you've heard. This is going kind of on the Coryell side of things. A little psychedelic in the guitar playing, but really hard-hitting funkiness, like really fast-paced stuff. You know, I think there was a quote in an article or something, maybe it was a review of this album, that said, if you think you've heard Jimmy Smith, think again with this album. This is very different for his catalog, and it's amazing. Root Down, man. The Beastie Boys sampled this album. Tells you something. Number 14 is a supergroup. I went with Interplay by Bill Evans. I thought that the lineup on here is some of the best of the best. You know, this is a 66 Riverside reissue. You've got Bill Evans on piano, Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Jim Hall on guitar, Percy Heath on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on the sticks. I think that's pretty much a supergroup. Great record. Not as talked about in the Bill Evans catalog. Mainly, I think, in my opinion, because Bill Evans isn't at the forefront here. It's very much everybody. Everyone's involved in this record. They all get their solos. They're all playing phenomenally on here. And it's such a good record. Check it out if you have not heard it. Number 15 is a record by an artist you love where they're a sideman. And I went with another, you know, recent find. I went with Search for the New Land by Lee Morgan, another Lee Morgan album, because of Grant Green. Grant is one of the people that got me into jazz, helped guide me through, you know, helped me find players I really like through Grant's albums. And him on the title track on this record is just awesome. His solo is great. What he lends to, like, I don't know if it's a bridge or a chorus part, the part that keeps going throughout Search for the New Land, you know, just awesome stuff on here. I adore this record, and I'm still happy I found a copy recently. Number 16 An album more people should know about. I have talked about this one before as well, and that is Getting Together by Paul Gonsalves on Jazzland. I also think more people should know about Jazzland, the label in general. But this album is, to me, one of the pinnacles of hard bop. Maybe with a slight post bop influence, but man, a fresh take on hard bop with this one. I love this record so much. This is an original mono pressing. Um, it's also a review copy, not to be sold, so that's super cool. Uh, Phenomenal record. The lineup on here is great. You've got Paul Gonsalves, you've got Nat Adderley, Wynton Kelly, Sam Jones, and Jimmy Cobb. Could also be a supergroup record, in my opinion. Peak hard bop for me. Really great record. Really, really underrated. More people should really know about that one. What are we on? We're on 17. An album by an artist that should have been bigger. One of my favorites, Booker Irvin with the In Between on Blue Note. Booker should have been bigger. He should have been up there, on the Mount Rushmore of sax players. I love his tone so much. He's one of my favorite sax players. This is actually the only album I have by him right now. I'm trying to hold off buying them online because the prices on them sometimes get inflated quite a bit. I found this one in person. I love Booker's tone. I love the way he plays. It's so different from anybody else. That's what I think I love the most about it. It's like a stream of consciousness playing for me. That's how I view this. How a lot of people view Coltrane. I do too, but I like Booker's playing more. I just do. Number 18, vocal jazz album. I do not have a lot of vocal jazz. I like Ella Fitzgerald, I like Sarah Vaughan, I like Billie Holiday. I love all those women. But I actually went with a male singer. I went with Chet Baker introduces Johnny Pace on Riverside. So an original 64 stereo pressing. Originally came out in 58 or 59 on mono. I chose this one because the Chet Baker Quintet is on here. Chet Baker playing trumpet. I think Philly Joe is on the sticks. And can't remember who else is in the band. But kind of a crooner album. In the same vein, as Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra. But with some really, really great musicians backing him up. Chet Baker just plays lovely throughout this whole thing. Very cheap album. If you're into that kind of thing, I'm not always in the mood for it, but I do like this album. It's pretty good. Number 19 is an album not many people talk about. I don't know if anyone else has ever talked about this on the VC. I've talked about it maybe once before. And that is Soul Symphony by the Three Sounds. First off, the Three Sounds don't get talked about nearly enough as much as they should. This is on Blue Note. This is their last Blue Note album. Not the original lineup on here, but a great bluesy, funky album. Not super funky, but just funky enough. Just great grooves on here. Really great piano playing throughout this whole thing. Late 60s album. It's just a great album. It's a lot of fun, this one. And I've never seen it talked about. And also look at this cover with all the animals. This is a great record. Check it out if you don't know it. Number 20 is a record you hope to find in 2022. I think one of my biggest ones up there right now is Waltz for Debbie. I've been super into Waltz for Debbie lately. Would love to find an original pressing. Don't want to pay original pressing prices. I'll take what I can get in that regard. I might go ahead and order a Japanese pressing here soon. Because I'm really craving it. I really want to listen to it. That's up there. I'd love to find some more Booker Irvin albums. I'd love to find more Grant Green albums. What I want in jazz is not really it doesn't have limits. It's pretty limitless. If I see something good by a great band or just an artist I love, I'll pick it up. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly what I want. I want more Strata East albums. I want to branch out in jazz. I want to discover new albums. There's a lot of things I'd like, but Waltz for Debbie is definitely up there for me right now. Number 21 is a new release or reissue you're looking forward to. I am very much looking forward to the repress of Nigeria by Grant Green. I am looking forward to Two-Headed Freep in Moonrappin', the classic series coming out at the end of the month. And the Feelin' the Spirit Tone Poet, I'm very excited for. I will be picking up all of those because Two-Headed Freep and Moonrappin' are just shooting up there in price right now. And the Nigeria, I don't really want to own the 1980 pressing because I hate those covers so much. Like, I hate those covers. So those are ones I'm pretty excited for. Now, number 22, the big question. Your house is on fire and you have to pick one album. This was an easy one for me. Very, very easy. Super easy. If I had to pick one jazz album to take with me, it would easily be Glass Bead Games by the Clifford Jordan Quartet. Original Strata East pressing. Got it earlier this year. Would grab this in a heartbeat over anything else. In love with this album. Just absolutely in love with this album. It is so good. And the first time I spun it, I was just blown away at how good the dynamics on this pressing were. I still am, to be honest. And with the new cart upgrade, where jazz sounds even better, yeah, oh my God, it's a dream. It sounds so good. I would easily grab this one in a fire. That's just I didn't even have to think about it. Pulled it off the shelf. I was like, it's that one. But anyways, big thank you to Chris for putting this together. Some of them just fell. For putting this together. It's a lot of fun. I've been watching the other entries to this because I like to see what's in people's collections. I like to see what people choose and what they feel connected to, you know? Thank you again, Chris. See you guys later.